kid's looking out the window, and here comes the bird. Let's go play. Let me take you into my world. A playmate. You know, we think of playmates as maybe when, I don't know if any of you ever had a playmate when you were a kid and they come and bang on your bedroom window, or they come sit in the front yard on a bicycle like, come on, hurry up, get ready, eat your Cheerios, get out of here, let's go. We're going to spend all day, Saturday, we're going to run around. It's easy to think of another human being as being a playmate, as kin. I love the word kin, kinship. But what about a playmate who wears feathers and says, come on, let's go out and play. Let's have a relationship together. A number of weeks ago, I was speaking in another town on a Sunday morning, and I got into that town pretty early. I'm pretty neurotic. I get up on days I speak, I can relate to the story you were telling, not quite to that extent, but I like to be alone. I like to get out. I like to kind of wrap my head around things. So the town I went to sits by some water as a river. And so I drove up. There's a little park and a little driveway, little roadway up on top of one of the levees by the river. And I went up there, and all these trees were sort of between the levee and the river. And I parked there. It was a really cool morning. I rolled the windows down in my car, and I had my stuff I was thinking about. And at first I thought, wow, I can't hear anything. It's so quiet, no traffic, no anything. It's interesting. I said, I can't hear anything. Sat there for a moment. I was reading, kind of closed my eyes. I'll sit in the silence, right? The longer I sat there, the more I realized that there were sounds starting to come in from all kinds of birds. I have no idea what they were, like Tweety birds, these little birds, just all kinds of songs. And some of them I would start to catch, and then pretty soon I felt like I was inundated with this beautiful language. All these birds began to show up. There were some birds, I don't know exactly what they were, but I could tell maybe they were a goose or a duck or something like that. I sat there, and I felt like all of these kinfolk had shown up for me to share a Sunday morning with me. So I kept my eyes closed, and pretty soon I could hear the water folk. I could hear the water of the river kind of slowly rolling by. And then as I surrendered my hearing even deeper, I started to hear the insect folk, the buzzing, the flying, the flapping, the creaking, all showed up. I listened to a program recently that Krista Tippett has on Sundays. I don't know if any of you, if you leave here shortly after the service, you can pick it up on a local NPR station. It's called On Being, and so I have to credit. My mic has just gone away, so.
It's back.
Hello? Oh, okay, I'm back. All right. So Krista Tippett had a guest on, and I was driving, so I didn't get the details of it. And so she was talking about the idea that what we feel about our planet today, that to turn that around, to heal that, we've got all these ways where, okay, we need to get out there and stop something, start something, do a program, whatever. All that is wonderful. All of it's great. We should come up with more of it. But she said we will never truly close the gap until we see the world around us as kin. Now, right now we have this thing in our, there's this idea that's come forward that I think is really beautiful. I love this so much, and it's called cultural appropriation. And what it means is we can't just go into cultures and pick things out because we like the way it sounds and take it and run with it. And so almost every native group left in the world, no matter what, every continent has its own natives, its own original people, its own First Nations people. And those are the people that we turn to for this idea of connection with what we would call the other. And for example, with Native American traditions, it's called all my relations, which would be everything that's besides walking around on two legs with Levi's and shoes on, right? And so, this woman who was speaking said, we need to find our own connection. And she's the one who came up with the idea of kinship. I love that. That's an English language word. Kin. Those are my kin. In some places in the world, those are my kin folk, right? And so I sat there in my car, and it dawned on me, these are all my kin showing up. My river kin, my bird kin, my insect kin. And I felt this closeness come over me. And this is, in metaphysics, we talk about the power of word a lot, and sometimes there are certain words that just seem to come from and speak to and touch the heart of us. The love words, the heart words, and kin is one of those. And I believe that that's true because it's grounded in unity. It's grounded in oneness. And when we look at our teachings that come to us into New Thought and metaphysics, those are the words that, really, really begin to start the spiritual machinery into motion in terms of healing and manifesting and evolving and transcending. And so I sat there in my car, and I'm listening to all this, and suddenly this affirmation that is here at the Chico Center, and in the last couple of years, I have led this, every time I've spoke, I've led this same affirmation. I am a center for spiritual living, and I love Mother Earth, right? And so I kind of thought of it this way. It's like Center for Spiritual Living. It's kind of like Bob's Barbershop, you know what I'm saying? It's like, well, where are you going to go? I'm going to go to the Center for Spiritual Living. So I saw it as kind of a business name or a nonprofit name, right? But in that moment, sitting in my car, I thought, I am a center for spiritual living. And suddenly, it shifted in me because it moved away from being something around branding to, I am a being of spiritual living, which allows me to open up to the love of Mother Earth from a spiritual point of view. Oh my God, that's all these years we've been using this term, Centers for Spiritual Living, going back to whenever it started. Years ago, we decided we were going to change. And suddenly, the power of that statement just washed over me. I became so emotional sitting in that car in the midst of all of my kin who were talking to me and showing up for me. And I thought, we are a center for spiritual living. And this idea of I love Mother Earth, and I sat there, I was overcome with this feeling. All you Tweety birds and spiders and everybody out there, I love you. I love you, river. I love you, water. I love you. And it was like this love affair in my car with this environment all around me. So I'd like to ask all you guys a question. And I'd like you to feel free to have some dialogue with me. What experience comes to mind for you to where you were somewhere in what we would call nature, and suddenly you realized that you were in kinship with what was around you? What was that moment? When you're in tree. Now I'm going to repeat what people say because we got cyber people, okay? So you feel that way amongst the tree kin.
Yeah, I get to see, where I live, I have trees everywhere, and I feel like I'm being embraced by them.
I love that.
Backyard, and they're just
I love cathedrals of trees. And they're like these big old priests standing there, right? And they're looking down on you, right? They're giving you some guidance and wisdom. Anybody else? What's a time when you're just in kinship? Yeah.
In walking in 1 mile,
There's
there's an area where
a redwood?
redwood
Okay.
area.
In the park.
Yeah, in the park. And I've gone there for years and just stood, it's like a circle, stood in the middle of all these beautiful redwoods.
Okay, so the redwoods form a circle, and you go in there. And tell me the feeling you have.
Belonging,
Belonging, love,
love, wisdom,
wisdom.
wisdom from these old trees.
Yeah, these old trees like the priests. Another cathedral, another circle, another coming together with it. Anybody else? Yeah. I'm sorry?
When I'm on monkey face,
What's monkey face?
mountain up in Upper Park,
Okay.
it's a hill incline.
Okay.
When I'm on top of it and I feel the wind, I feel like I'm connected to everything.
Oh, I love that. So what she's saying, for those of you out there, okay, there's a place in Upper Bidwell Park here in Chico called Monkey Face. She's there, the wind is in her face, and she feels connected to everything. From the wind kin. The wind kin. Anybody else? Yeah.
Tweety birds you were talking about.
Tweety birds, okay.
As it gets light in the morning,
Yeah.
they start. It's like
Yeah.
you wake up and you have this orchestra of sweet, sweet birds
Yes.
waking you up and
They do.
saying, this is a beautiful day, come join us.
Yeah, it's like the kid with this bird, like, come on out and play. And I love what you said. Their voices are so sweet. They're so loving. How you can't be mad at a Tweety bird. There's no way. I mean, the minute they say anything, you're just like, I love you, and I know you love me. I love that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I was over dogs and cats. I was over at Hooker Oak. Hooker Oak was the big one, right? The one that left us years ago. Anyway, in that park this morning, I was parked there this morning, kind of going over things and being quiet. And oh my God, the people with their dog kin there. I mean, just all over the place. They're all walking around and they're all hanging out together. And some of the dogs had some other dog kin there. I could tell they knew each other probably from every Sunday or something. And every once in a while, they would kind of get away from their human kin and they go have some real good fun, And the human kin would run after them. And it was great. I love that, Yeah.
Meditation garden in San Diego.
Meditation garden in San Diego.
And you walk up these steps and there's an abundance of plants that just thrive in this.
Oh, wow. So plants in this area.
There's koi ponds, there's plants, there's benches you sit on, and as you walk up, you eventually are on the cliff. And
Oh, wow.
the whole Pacific Ocean, you look north and south, and
Wow.
birds, and there's saltwater, there's dolphin, there's plants, and people from all over the world that show up and sit.
Wow.
You can't be there and not feel everything.
It's like the UN of kinfolk. It's plants and it's salt water, it's air, it's koi ponds, it's the ocean, it's north and south and east and west, and it's probably got some wind blowing up there, Yeah.
When I was in Alaska, I woke up before dawn every morning because I was on a reservation, Metlakatla.
Okay.
One of the major things that they do is the elders all wake up before dawn and they start a morning ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
And we would go onto the beach and we would listen to the whale, we'd listen to
Oh my God.
birds and seagulls, and just feel the wind. And we would pick ceremonial plants and stuff that we would use for our ceremonies during the morning.
Wow.
It was absolutely breathtaking. The connection that you feel with everything around you is just amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever felt so grounded
Yeah.
than being in that
Yeah. So she's talking about a place in Alaska where the elders this is a reservation situation. The elders wake people up. They go to the seashore. There's a ceremony there. And within that environment, the birds, the whales, the ocean itself, the wind, everything. And she was talking about this grounding that takes place. And see, I think that you hit something there, and I've heard you guys talk about the wisdoms and the grounding. It's the thing is the language of our kin who are not our species is, I believe, it's always a grounding. They have a way of bringing us to our senses in terms of what really matters. I ran across something that Ernest Holmes wrote this week. And I don't remember really looking at this before. And I just sat there going, oh, Ernie, what's up, man? I did, in terms of this sort of thing. He says, unless there were a unifying principle of life existing as one all-embracing higher consciousness in which everything subsists, then we could not recognize each other. Oh my God. What Holmes is saying, the fact that we have the ability to recognize each other is proof that there is something that binds us all together, which in our teaching is around oneness and unity. That allows us to recognize that the redwood is kinfolk, that the dog and cat is kinfolk, that the plants are kinfolk, that the wind is kin. He goes on, then we could not recognize each other. Indeed, we would not be conscious of living in the same world. And this is something he wrote kind of in response to, hey, what's up with this freedom thing, that we're all kind of doing our own thing. Do we lose some oneness there? Do we lose some unity? He says, no, it's built in, but we have to turn towards it. We have to open up to it. Nature, what we call nature, and I would like to take away that duality today. That's my goal. What we call, whatever we've called it, when we recognize it as kin, when we recognize it as our home, then we can begin to appreciate all those languages that are being spoken. A while back, I was talking to a group of people where I work professionally, and we were talking about the idea of intuition, opening up to guidance, because this is big in the field I work in, around clients who, I feel lost. I don't know what direction to go. So the idea was we were having a conversation about intuition, about things that open up to guide and direct us. And so, they were pressing me a little bit, and when you press me, I get myself in trouble, okay? In terms of I'm supposed to be all secular and stuff, well, I just decided to go to the wild side. So I was telling them one time, I said, I was going through some stuff one day. I was going through some stuff at a period of time, didn't really know, I was kind of feeling lost, kind of feeling wimpy, kind of feeling whiny about my life. And in fact, I was in Bidwell Park, and I was doing that walk, somewhere around 1 mile and 5 mile. And I'm going along, and I'm walking, and I'm turning this over in my head, where am I going? Where have I been? What am I doing? And all that stuff. All of a sudden, this butterfly comes over my shoulder, is right here, and I'm going, whoa, kind of comes out here, and then goes out a little bit more, and then kind of dances for a while, goes a little bit further, dances for a while, and then takes off. And I told the people I was talking to, I said, what that tells me is that I need to open up to the idea of transformation. I need to release myself, let myself go into transformation. And they said, how do you know that the butterfly was about that? I said, because they represent transformation. Well, how did they communicate that? I said, through butterfly. I don't speak butterfly. And butterfly don't speak human. And so we do the best we can. What's really interesting about a lot of what you guys almost everything you shared today was you didn't talk about language. You talked about feelings. I can feel the wisdom. I can feel the connection. I feel something in their presence. This is the way that our kinfolk of fur and feather and four-legged and 80-legged and whatever, that's how they come forward. Because I believe, see, when Holmes talks about this recognition, imagine what you do. Let's use the word kin for a moment in terms of just simply human beings. What do you do when you come forward with your kin? You hang out, you talk, you share. We can do that with these other kin if we give ourselves over to the fact that they speak a different language. And they speak a language to the heart. And they're here to give us some wisdom. Charles Fillmore of Unity says something really interesting. Because Charles Fillmore kind of takes us to the woodshed on this a little bit. He says, unity is the universal oneness of spirit, humanity, and all creation. The only real unity is centered in spirit. Ego always strives for its own success and always aims for the personal. Wow, Charles. I mean, that's him bringing it. Hey, you want to line up with the kin, folks? Get away from the ego. Stop looking out only for yourself and think about the whole. He goes on, aims for the personal instead of the good of all. Imagine the shift that can happen to us when the polar bear stops being just some animal who may go into extinction and he becomes kin. We got a family member who's in trouble. If you had a kinship with family that was in the kind of trouble that kin is in, what would you do? That's what we're being asked to do. That thing that we say here, I'm a Center for Spiritual Living and I love Mother Earth. A few weeks ago in my car, I got it. And all the Tweety birds who helped me get there. All right. So now I would like to ask Warren Haskell to come back up and put a bow on this with his beautiful guitar.